Hold on, gotta go. Okay, there you go.
Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry we're a little delayed today. I had a little trouble trying to find the live video feed on Facebook today. Some formatting has changed, but thanks for hanging in there with us, and I'm so glad you joined us today. I'm Debbie Reynolds with Rocky Mountain Lodge, and I'm super excited to share with you today on making some fondue. We're going to be making two different kinds of fondue. We're going to be making a cheese fondue and a chocolate fondue, and then I'll give you some tips about making meat fondues. So let's go ahead and get started without further ado. You can find these recipes in my cookbook, Rocky Mountain Lodge and Cabin's More Favorite Recipes. So visit our website, rockymountainlodge.com. Click on the gift shop tab, enter the promo code Facebook Cooking, and you can take $5 off. And so these recipes are in there, and you can also find them on our website under the recipes tab on rockymountainlodge.com. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start with our cheese fondue first. Oops, I forgot to get the cheeses out. Hold on one second. Those are important. All right. This is all of the prep work that we have been doing today, or I should say I have been doing today.
More than a day.
Yeah, I just started yesterday just with a little bit of prep, grating cheeses, weighing out measurements, stuff like that. So we're going to start here. I've got 3 different types of cheeses, and you're going to want to use good quality cheeses when you get these. This is an Emmental cheese or Swiss cheese. Any of those are good. We're going to have 14 ounces of this cheese. And then this cheese right here is a Gruyere. No, I'm sorry, backwards. This one is a Gruyere. We have 14 ounces of Gruyere cheese. This one right here, these are our fixings for later, is an Emmental cheese, which is like a Swiss cheese. This particular one, not this one. This is Gruyere. Got a little bit more smoky to it. This one is a Swiss cheese. I actually used Jarlsberg cheese instead of Emmental because we really like that. And then this is some Parmesan cheese. So we have 14 ounces of Gruyere, 7 ounces of Emmental cheese or Jarlsberg I used, and then this is 3.5 ounces of grated Parmesan cheese, finely grated Parmesan. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to, and then I've got some dry white wine here and some brandy. We'll go over all of that here in just a little bit. So one of the things I wanted to show you was, in case you don't know how to, I'm going to show you how to easily peel a clove of garlic. So what I do is when you get your garlic off of there, you're going to have a pointy end, and then you're going to have the end that's connected to the stem. I like to just chop off that little stem piece, throw that away, and now you're just going to get a flat knife, and you're going to set it on your clove of garlic with the peel, and you're just going to give it a good whack. And it's also going to break open your garlic, and then you can peel this nice and easily. All right, so I guess there's a couple cloves in here. So pretty easily peeled. I just wanted to show you that little tip in case you didn't know about how to easily peel your garlic. I think I hate peeling garlic and onions more than I do actually chopping them. And so we're just going to take our garlic clove here and we're going to cut it in half. And we are going to rub our pot with the garlic half right here and kind of flavor this up a little bit. I've got 2 halves here, so we're just going to flavor this up. It's going to flavor our cheese sauce here. And then I'll take the other half, and I'm going to take my fondue pot. I'll tell you about these fondue pots later on. And I'm going to also garlic my pot here. Just adds a little bit more flavor to our fondue. All right, so we'll set that there. We'll get to that later on. And then you can discard your garlic. You're done with that. They're a little sticky, so I'll wash my hands here. All right, and now what we're going to do next is I have here 1 3/4 cups of dry white wine that I'm going to put in my pot right here, and I'm going to put this on my burner. I just got this little electric burner in here yesterday, so we'll see if this makes it any easier for cooking right here rather than over on the stove. Hopefully this will work. It's the first time I'm using it. If not, we'll just move on over to the stove. Go to plan B.
Take it back to Walmart.
Amazon.
All
right, so we've got that going. And so we're going to bring this to a little bit of a simmer. Let me turn this up a little bit. Yep, it's hot. Okay, and I'm also not used to cooking on an electric stove. I have a gas stove, which I cook on. So we've got that going. And so what we're going to add to this, once this comes up to temp, is I need 5 tablespoons of brandy. And I have it divided right here. I have 2 tablespoons right here for later. And I have 3 tablespoons right here. So what we're going to, or 3 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons, total of 5 tablespoons. I was a little behind today because we're trying to get ready for this video and had Facebook problems. Imagine that.
Maybe you need a sip of brandy.
Oh yeah, sip of brandy would be good. I actually like some flavored brandies. I've got a peach brandy, apple brandy, all kinds of stuff. All right, so this is starting to simmer a little bit, so now I'm going to add my brandy to here. The 3 tablespoons of brandy to our wine. That's going to be the liquid ingredients for this. And so now that this is simmering slowly, let me get that going a little bit more because we want it to be warm so our cheese will melt. And actually I'm using the wrong one, but that's okay. All right, so I'll let that simmer. So while we're waiting for that to simmer, I'll show you some of the accompaniments that we're gonna add to this cheese fondue. So I have some bread cubes that I've cubed up here yesterday. I actually made some homemade sourdough bread yesterday, and that's what this is. You can find this recipe on my website. And we have some veggies to go with the cheese fondue. These are the items that we like in our cheese fondue recipe. Sorry, I wasn't quite prepared. So we just have some veggies here, and then these fruits are what I like in my cheese fondue, better than the chocolate fondue. So I've just got some cut up apples, pears, and grapes. Believe it or not, these are very good in cheese. So these are the things that we add to our cheese fondue, but feel free to change that up.
What kind of pears?
These are just Bartlett pears, but you can use any kind of pears. You just want to make sure that they're ripe but not mushy. Okay, so now our wine and brandy are simmering slowly. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to slowly add our cheeses a little bit at a time so that they can melt. And you don't want to do this too fast because your cheeses can end up clumping. So I'll just add a little bit at a time. You can also just mix these up ahead of time, all 3 of them in one big bowl. So this is a lot of cheese. This fondue, this amount of cheese would feed 4 people. Right now we just have Brian and I here, but my neighbor just came in, and so we'll share with her. And then I also invited my daughter and her family to come over later this afternoon and help us eat this food because we are not going to be able to eat all of this. We have decided to not go out for dinner on Valentine's Day because it's just nuts on Valentine's Day. When we go out on Valentine's, so instead of going out on Valentine's Day, it can be hard to get a reservation on Valentine's Day, especially now with COVID. I bet you have to book a way far out. The restaurants can be crowded. They're very expensive. So several years ago, my husband and I decided that we would stay home for Valentine's Day and we have fondue. And so this is our tradition on Valentine's Day. We have fondue. This is pretty much all we do. Usually by the time we get through our cheese course and our meat course, we're too full to have dessert. But so we usually end up having to save it for the next day. I guess we aren't that big of eaters. So, or we should just pace ourselves, but it's so good, I can't help myself. And so what we do while I'm working on this melting, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do for our main course fondues. We'll get oil heated. I have 2 different types of fondue pots here. I'll tell you a little bit about these. I've got this one right here. That is an electric fondue pot. And this is my newer one. I like this one to cook my oil in. I'll just put some oil in here and then I'll put it on here because you can control your temperature. So this is the one that I like to use for my meat fondues because I have a little more control. It's a little warm right now, so I'll wait on that. Oh, no, it's not. Maybe I don't have it turned on.
Lights on. No, it's turned down. Turn the knob.
Oh, it's turned off. Oh, yeah. It would help if you turned it on.
Yes.
So this is the one that I like to use for my meat. And what I like to do for my meat is I like to just get a filet mignon steak. I'll just get a small one for us to share. And I'll cut that up into cubes and then we'll fry it in the meats in the hot oil. And then I'll make dipping sauces to go with it. I did post on our Facebook page some dipping sauces to go with it. Shrimp is also very good. Scallops, chicken. You can use any types of meat that you want in your oils. And so there's lots of different kinds of dipping sauces that I posted on my website a few days ago. You can look those up. And so that's what we'll do for our meat fondue. And then this fondue maker, this is a very old one. This one I got from my mom. Back in the day, back in the 60s, when fondue was just really becoming popular, this was her fondue pot. And so this one isn't electric, so this one has, just got to keep stirring that, a sterno. And so this is a sterno, and you end up just kind of some gooey stuff. I don't know what that is. Do you know what sterno is made out of, Brian?
It's like a gelatin fuel.
Okay.
Some petroleum product.
And so I'll use this one for here. So it has a sterno that goes along with it. And that's what you'll use for this one.
And you have to be careful with that flame. You have to, most of the time, turn it way, way low. Pinch it back. And
I'll show you how to work
Yeah,
that a
okay.
little bit later on. Right now I'm going to keep stirring this cheese so it doesn't clump. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. And so, but it's starting to get thicker. You can see that cheese is starting to melt in there with that wine. I like to use this particular fondue maker for the cheese. And one of the reasons too is because not only can you put it on here to keep it warm, you can actually cook your fondue right in this pot on the stove. And then you don't have two separate pots to put them in. All right. And so, let's see, what else can I tell you about? And so, does anybody have any questions about anything right now while I'm working on this?
Linda says sterno is a hydrocarbon jelly.
Thank you, Miss.
Nice work.
A hydrocarbon jelly.
Yeah, she's
See,
right
now
about
I'm
that.
learning something from you guys today.
Yeah.
I need all the help I can get.
It's a fuel.
Okay, so I've got all of my cheeses in here. I like to buy my cheeses. There's a few different places that I buy my cheeses at. Like I said, I like to use good quality cheeses. And so there's a couple of grocery stores that have good cheeses. Trader Joe's has a good cheese section where they'll have good quality cheeses. King Soopers, one of the grocery stores in our area, has some good quality cheeses. And then also Sam's Club and Costco has some good quality cheeses. So that's where I tend to buy my cheeses from. But I'm sure that there's other places that have good quality cheeses as well. So this is starting to melt. So once all of this gets melted, you can kind of see it's melting. Once it's thoroughly melted, then I'm going to add a little bit of this cornstarch. I've got 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. The other 2 tablespoons of reserve brandy. We're going to mix these together. And then we're going to add them to our cheese sauce to thicken those. And so let me get my little baby whisk here. So I'm going to add this brandy to the cornstarch. Use this little baby whisk that I have. I'll be so sad if anything ever happens to this little baby whisk. I love using this for all kinds of stuff. So let me see how these cheeses are doing. All we want to do is stir this until they're melted. And it looks like they're pretty well melted. It will kind of separate a little bit. So you want to stir it constantly. That wine and the oils from the cheese will tend to separate, so we'll stir it. And then this is going to end up becoming a binder for us.
Right, and don't do it too hot, right?
No, you want to do this on low because you don't want to burn your cheese. And so this really is a really decadent, good cheese. It's really filling, but it's so good. It's way better than going out to the store and trying to you'll pay, I think when we go to a fondue restaurant, we'll pay probably, I think we pay like $85 if we can find a deal for the two of us for a cheese fondue, chocolate and meat fondue. That's per person, I think, right? Or is that for
I
the two of
can't
us?
remember.
I think if we find a Groupon, we can get it for $85 for the two of us. Otherwise, I did not spend $85 for all of this. I'll tell you that much. I probably spent about $50 for everything here. And this will feed 4 people, not just 2 people. So you can cut this in half. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just cut the cheeses in half for Brian and I, and we will just, that's usually enough for us. But I'm doing a whole batch today because I have a ton of grandkids next door that are very excited about eating this. One of the granddaughters came over today and she goes, I don't like chocolate, but I'll eat marshmallows. So I told her she could have marshmallows without chocolate. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add this binder here to this, and then we're just going to cook this until it thickens up a little bit more. Let's see. I'm still trying to get used to my griddle here, my cooktop. So it takes a little bit for it to all get mixed together. All right, and then we're also going to add just a little bit of salt and pepper to this, just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. I actually like to use ground white pepper so that you don't necessarily see the pepper flakes, but you can use, oops, maybe a little too much pepper.
Nice.
Let's see, I thought,
yeah,
okay,
there you go.
Maybe a little bit of pepper. I guess we'll find out there.
Oops, sorry. Do you want me to stir that while you have to do other
sure.
stuff?
The other thing, if you can go ahead and can you do that while you're filming?
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay, then the next thing that I'm going to add to that is just a little bit of grated nutmeg, which I have one here somewhere. Here's a nutmeg. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of nutmeg just to give it a little bit more flavor. And that's it. Okay, you can also just add a pinch. All right, so let's see how we're doing here. That looks like it's getting close. So I'll let you continue to stir if you want.
You can.
And I'll start working on the chocolate while we're doing that. So for our chocolate fondue, I'll get this pot out here. And if I'm going to use both pots, I'll use the small pot that I use my oil from for my chocolate. But like I said, we usually have too much food. So, yeah, usually I do this on the stove, so it's taking a little longer, but I think you can see it starting to thicken up there, right? Does it feel like it?
It does feel like it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now, let me clean this off. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this one on very low for my chocolate. Or you can use a double boiler, which if you don't have a double boiler, you just take a pot, you put it about halfway with water, and then you put a bowl on top of it like this. Then you can put a bowl on top of it. This one's too small. Let's see if I have a bigger one. Then you can put a bowl on top of it. You don't want your bowl to touch your water. This one's still too big. You just don't want this to touch your water. And then this makes a double boiler right there.
No burning the chocolate.
Nope, you don't want to burn the chocolate. So this is a double boiler like this. That would be a good fit right there. So I'm just going to do this on super low. But otherwise, this makes a great double boiler just like this. And maybe I should do that since I'm not familiar with this. But I think our cheese sauce actually is almost done.
It's just starting to turn.
It's just starting. You'll be able to tell just by looking at it and feeling it. You can see that it's all blending together and it's starting to thicken a little bit.
Yeah, just started to.
It goes really quick once
it
it
does.
starts.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to add, this is 9 ounces of a dark chocolate. You want at least 50% cacao powder, or not powder, 50% chocolate. This is a 60% chocolate cacao in there. It'll become darker and richer.
Okay, what do you want me to do with this cheese?
Okay, so now that this cheese is done, now we're going to pour this in here. And we're going to light the little sterno to keep it warm. So that's done. And you just pour it in your fondue pot. That way you can bring it out to the table or wherever you're having it.
That's a huge amount of cheese.
I know. This is.
Oh,
You keep dumping that. All right. So you just like my. Let's see if I can figure out this darn thing.
Here, give it to me.
I need help today. It's a good thing I got my man around. It's just this. No, it's just I couldn't get the lighter.
There you go. I get it.
Okay. So we'll just turn this on very low just to keep the cheese warm. And I'll shut this off.
Okay, it's lit, but it's very hard to see, but you would be able to see. Yeah, I can see a little bit.
So that's a sterno, and that's just going to keep this warm while you are, and I'll put the lid on here also to keep it warm. He keeps bumping the light switch is in our island right at about hip level. So if you touch it, it's going to
I think it
mess
went
it
out.
up. It went out? Okay. So that is the Decadent Cheese Fondue, which we will end up serving some great bread, fruit, and veggies with. And now we will, our chocolate is starting to melt here. So to this chocolate, I don't want to have that chocolate by itself. I also have, so this is 9 ounces of chocolate. I need to hurry up and add some cream here before that melts. Let me turn over my instructions. Okay, so this is 9 ounces of bittersweet chocolate, at least 50% cacao. This is 60%. Now I'm going to add a scant half cup of cream, heavy cream. And scant means just a little bit less. All right, so there's our cream. And then we're just going to wait for all of these to melt. This one's super easy. So he's got that one going. So today, I'll end up putting, let me turn this one down low for the chocolate. We're going to do our chocolate in this one. Okay, so this one goes pretty quick. So all we're going to do is melt this chocolate and cream together, and then we are going to add 2 more tablespoons of brandy. And that's all there is to this one, but it's very good and rich and decadent and dark chocolate. So while that's melting, we're just going to have to try some of this. You want to try one, Brian?
Yeah, I get one.
Okay. So we'll just dip that in there. This is actually maybe still a little, oh, I saw the cheese is down the bottom. You just kind of have to stir it. But we kind of, oops. Sometimes the thicker part, whoops, I'm making a mess. Okay. It's going to be hot.
It's kind of a big bite.
Mmm. You guys, I wish you could try it. I'm going to set this here because nobody else can use that one. And when you're doing fondue and you've got your meat cooking in your oils, these little things, the little forks, are color-coded. That way you know whose is whose, so you don't get them mixed up. This is so good, you guys. I wish you could try it. You're going to have to just make it. All right, so let's see how our chocolate's doing. I probably have cheese on my face, but this is good. And you'd be surprised how good all of these fruits are in that cheese sauce. And all of these veggies. The bread is probably my favorite, though. All right, so this is getting melted. All right, and so with this, as I mentioned, let me grab my spatula again. Where did I put it? My whisk. Here it is in my pot. And so sometimes you'll find that the cheese might settle down to the bottom. If it starts to separate, just stir it again. We usually tend to just grab our food and we'll go down to the bottom and make sure we kind of mix it as we use it so it doesn't separate. But it was perfect when we poured it in here. It's still pretty delicious. All right, and our chocolate is almost there. You can see how dark and rich this chocolate is when you use at least a 60% chocolate. This chocolate that I like to use, I like to buy the Ghirardelli chocolate, and that's 60% cacao. And so you'll get a richer flavor, a nice darker chocolate. I've bought chocolate before that's like 80% or 90%, and it's pretty hard to get it to melt. I usually have to add extra cream to it. All right, so this chocolate is almost melted. There we go. And so now we're just going to add our brandy. 2 tablespoons of brandy. So this is 9 ounces of chocolate, a scant 1/2 cup of heavy cream, and 2 ounces of brandy, just to give it some extra flavor. And these recipes, as I mentioned, are in our cookbook, and you can also find them on our wet recipe pages on our recipe section on our website, RockyMountainLodge.com.
So you don't need to use the brandy if you don't want to with the chocolate?
No, you don't. And you can also even just use a brandy extract, which doesn't really, it'll give you the flavor without the alcohol. So you can do that on both of these if you want. Just use some extract. I would just add some extra liquid to these. Add a little bit extra wine if you're not going to use the brandy in there. And I would just add a little extra cream if you're not going to use it in here. There we go. And so this one is done as well. So I'm going to pour this in here. And you can see they're both pretty easy to make. I think the biggest time consuming part is just getting all of the accompaniments ready. Okay, so I just did a small batch of this. I think that's the amount that's in our website. So this is probably enough for 2. And so here are the items that I have for this. For our chocolate brand fondue, I have a few things here, and then I'm going to go get one more thing out of the fridge, which makes it super special.
So Debbie,
these are my favorites right here.
Debbie's a bit of an overachiever here.
What?
Yeah, so
a little bit of an overachiever.
Okay.
I did try to triple major in college.
I'll say go do these first. Say
Okay, so
what
what
you
we
got.
have here are, we have some vanilla wafers, little mini Nutter Butter cookies, shortbread cookies, marshmallows, graham crackers. Believe it or not, I just love graham crackers with this chocolate. Angel food cake, pound cake, some coconut strips. These are actually pretty good in there if you like coconut. Oops, it's melting. These are some ice cream balls. I just took some ice cream yesterday and I made balls out of them, rolled them into graham cracker crumbs, and then froze them. But they've been in the fridge probably for a little too long.
Yeah.
This is cheesecake, pineapple, bananas, and strawberries. So any of these are great in the chocolate. I'm actually going to take one of these. Hopefully it's not going to be too melty. Yeah, it's going to be too melty. I'll have to put those back in the freezer. Same here. I have to put both of these back in the freezer. But otherwise...
So leave them in the freezer till you're ready to eat them.
Yes, leave them in the freezer. And so I'll just dip this bananas in there. Get off that excess chocolate. So good. Dark chocolate. It's got that nice dark chocolate flavor to it. And all these things are great to go with it. So make sure you like this video, share this video, comment down in the comment section. I will be back in 2 weeks for my next video. My hubby is having a knee replacement surgery next week, so I got to take care of him. So keep him in your prayers for next week, next Wednesday, actually next Tuesday, February 9th. He's having knee replacement surgery. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll be making some Eggs Benedict and Hollandaise sauce. I'll teach you how to make different varieties of Eggs Benedict. Hollandaise sauce, you will be amazed at how easy Hollandaise sauce is to make. And I'll teach you how to do poached eggs and some other ways of doing eggs on Eggs Benedict if you don't want to have to hassle with poaching them. But otherwise, here's our fondue demonstration for today. Hope you guys liked everything. Any more questions from the peanut gallery? Just put them in the comments box.
They all just want to come here now.
Yeah, come on over. There's quite the spread. Okay, see y'all in a couple weeks, and have a great week. Bye, everybody.